All right. Just going to give it a couple minutes for everybody to come back. I'll give it about a minute and a half. Excuse me. We had some technical difficulties. I knocked the phone off the stand on the last live stream, so everybody's waiting for this link to go up so they can come over here. I see we have 2 people. Hey, country cowgirl, how are you? How's the weather in Utah? Oh wow, you guys are coming in quick. Okay, so if you're coming over from the last stream, you know that I knocked the phone off the stand and messed up the video. Can you guys please confirm with a thumbs up if you can see me and hear me okay? Just want to make sure you can see and hear. More so hear than see. Okay, great. You can see and hear me. Oh gosh, now it's cricket. This is the perfectionist coming out. Okay, whatever. It's going to be fine. Like I was saying on the last stream, for those of you who are just joining us, the purpose of us being here tonight in this live chat is really about you. A lot of people are being affected because they can't have traditional funeral services or gatherings for their loved ones. And I just wanted to open up this space for a open conversation and dialogue, because I know there's a lot of feelings, there's a lot of fear, and there's also just a lot of information being thrown at us daily that's changing by, at one point it was the hour, now it seems like the minute. So before we get started, I want to open up with a prayer, and it's very short, but it's entitled Inner Knowledge. And it says, without opening your door, you can open your heart to the world. Without looking out your window, you can see the essence of all things. And this comes from the Tao Te Ching, and it's number 47. And I felt like those words were very poignant, especially right now, because it seems like we're being forced to be closed off. But I want us to always remember to keep our hearts and our spirits open, to be compassionate towards those who are sharing in this experience. So one more thing before we get into the conversation and I let you guys pretty much take over. There is only one house rule, and that rule is that I would appreciate it if everyone could just be extremely respectful of one another. This is an online platform, and it can display the best of energies, but also the worst. This is a very sensitive conversation that we're having about death and grieving, and it's important that we all respect one another's beliefs, regardless of religion, background, or any other differing factor. And that's pretty much it. So I thought I would open up by talking about the psychological foundation of the funeral service practice. And this is from the book that we were actually administered in school, entitled Mortuary Administration and Funeral Service Management. And it reads, the bereaved family can better adjust to life following the loss of a member of the family by having a funeral service for the deceased. Now, put a thumbs up if you agree with that, and a thumbs down if you disagree. Do you agree that the family of the deceased can better adjust to life if they're allowed the opportunity to have a funeral service? It goes on to read, the funeral is the basis for the acceptance of death, affirming the dignity of the deceased to provide for the expression of emotion and provide comfort for the family. Let's see, we got a couple of responses. Let's see what you guys are saying. Okay, looks like all thumbs up. I agree as well. And the individual psychological needs of the family are met by having a funeral for a member of the family who has died. These needs are met in the following ways. Number 1, a funeral service allows for the normal expression of emotion through crying. Number 2, there is a freedom to verbalize the feelings. People get up and they talk about, you know, what a wonderful person this was, or if they were a jerk, you know, how they were a jerk to them, and they receive the response of either laughter or seeing other people mourn and grieve along with them. So it doesn't, you don't feel so isolated in your grief when you have the opportunity to have a funeral service for someone who's passed away. Support is provided by friends and family, and that support comes in many different ways. It can come in phone calls, it can come in cards, it can come in just signing the book that's at the funeral home. It gives the family something to look back on. It helps to emphasize the reality of death. Now, I want you guys to remember that, because we're going to touch on that in just a minute. The funeral service helps to emphasize the reality of death. And the ceremony provides spiritual support. One thing that I've noticed in working in funeral service is that regardless of a person's religious background, whether they're Muslim, Christian, or, you know, dare I say Satanist or whatever, there's one thing in common, and it is the belief that there's something after this life, whether it be absolutely nothing or another level or later into the next realm. And the comfort is provided by the beauty of the funeral, the aesthetics of the funeral, having a, not necessarily a viewing, but just having something beautiful to associate, a positive memory picture of your deceased loved one. It allows for there to be comfort. That provides comfort for grieving families. It allows for self-denial as an expression of guilt. I really don't know what that means. I'm interested to know what you guys think that means. I wish I could sound all smart and, you know, just like I know it all, but I really don't know what that means. And lastly, viewing the dead human remains helps to establish the realization of death. And the reason I wanted to touch on these 8 things and read that part of this book is because, like I said, a lot of people are, because of this virus, not able to celebrate the lives of their loved ones as they are traditionally used to, or as we are traditionally used to as a country. And one last thing that I'm going to read for this book is the sociological foundation of funeral service. Man as a social being is a member of a social group with interrelationships with other social groups. So to me, that means that, you know, I have my family, right? And those are the people that are closest to me, but I also have coworkers. I also have people that I socialize with through professional organizations. I have people that I know here from YouTube, you guys. And when someone dies, my nuclear family is not the only group of people that is going to be affected by a death. Okay? The funeral as a social institution is an outgrowth of religion. The funeral service meets social needs by disposal of the body, affirming the dignity of the deceased in the community, and it allows for an expression of the community's concern for the bereaved families. Now, I read all of that for us to get to where we stand today. Because of the coronavirus and because of social distancing, families are being, I don't want to say robbed, but are not being given the opportunity to express their loss in each and every one of those ways. This is going to change the way that we're grieving as human beings. And I don't think that we have the capability to understand that concept yet. It's literally going to change the way that we grieve. And it almost feels as if our right to grieve and the way that we have become accustomed has been taken away from us. I want to get you guys' thoughts. What are your thoughts on everything that was just shared? And I'm going to read back through the comments and answer or respond to a few things. Quick last night. Okay, so there was another earthquake in Utah. I hope you guys are safe. Latoya Ford says, I miss both parents and my 5 brothers and my uncle and my cousin. Okay, I'm sorry for your loss. Okay. Okay. How are you receiving this? I know I can't be the only one that's having these thoughts and thinking about this. And something else I want you to consider is that there are natural emotions and feelings that are tied to losing a loved one. And those are feelings that we recognize as the stages of grief, which are anger, denial, shock, bargaining, depression, testing, and acceptance, right? Imagine for a minute that if you have, excuse this example, but you just found out that a loved one of yours died. And because of what's going on, you can't see them. You can't go to a place and plan a funeral for them. You can't touch them, or you can't, like my sister was saying, you can't put them in their favorite color. You can't even order flowers and have them made in enough time to put them at their graveside upon their burial. That is the reality for a lot of people, and maybe not so much here in Georgia, but there are places in the United States, and cities in the United States, where this is a reality. And especially over in Italy and definitely in China, this was the reality for many people. Maybe not so much in China as far as cremation is concerned, but definitely in Italy and here in the United States, there are people who did not want to be cremated, that their families now have to live with the fact that they had to cremate their loved one against their wishes because of the extreme circumstances that we're under. That creates space for such complicated grief. Okay, let's see. I saw something pop up. Okay. Latoya Ford says you can set up an altar for the one that is deceased and feed them. Okay, is that a part of your culture? That sounds very cultural and very like a ritual for a culture. And I agree, there are creative ways to celebrate the lives of deceased loved ones, and we're going to talk about those in a minute. Richard Howard says, it is sad with so many people on a fixed income, we cannot afford funerals we used to be able to have. That is true. Income is really going to change if things continue to go the way that they are. And again, cremation may not be something that the deceased wants, but it may be the most economical option at the time, you know? Let's see. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm still new to this. I'm trying to read all of these comments. I think this is a time to be innovative with solutions because it's not fair not to be able to say goodbye. I agree, Dejan. Thank you for your words. Latoya says, I feel so sad for those who cannot be around their loved ones. My heart grieves for them. I too was robbed of saying goodbye to my uncle. Oh, I'm sorry, Latoya. All I can say is that I'm sorry for your loss. I don't have any other words. What are some creative ways that you all think that we can move towards celebrating the lives of loved ones that we may or may not be able to say goodbye to? Or what are some suggestions you would have for someone in the situation that we're describing? Yes, it's a part of your African culture. I thought so. It also eases the pain. Okay. Thank you for sharing. As you guys see, I have like candles all over. That's one way that I pay homage to my deceased loved ones. When I get a new candle, I tend to set intentions into them. And one of those intentions is an expression of gratitude for those who have come into my life in the form of my mother, my father, my, any family member, but especially those who have passed away. I've heard of streaming services, Wanda said. Yeah, I actually had a conversation about that with the funeral home owner where I help out. He said that we're all set to stream services. Honestly, you guys, I think that the openness and the open-mindedness of a community is going to really have a big role in how we're able to conduct services as professionals. For example, streaming services is something that we see on Facebook Live, right, in the African American community. But I don't know how many of you in here happen to be African American. Have you attended a virtual service ever? Has anyone in here ever attended a virtual service? I have not. And I work in the funeral service industry. So, okay. Country Cowgirl says, I care for my sick daddy. God forbid he passes, I at least get to say goodbye. And you should be very grateful for that, because a lot of people are getting phone calls and just, such and such passed away, and we don't even have the opportunity to plan a service because of whatever's going on. We have to either cremate, or we can only have a limited number of people there, and unless you're a vital member of that family unit, you may not be included. So that's something to be very grateful for, and I'm so happy that you have that time with your dad. Okay. Latoya Ford says, thank you so much, Graveyard Girl, because of my spiritual gifts, I chose to honor the dead by giving food, money, wine, cigars, water, fruit, rice, and peanuts. Okay. And what is the significance behind that, if you don't mind me asking? Dijon says, streaming is the right direction, but it's not quite personal enough. That's true. What are some personal touches that you all would be open to? And I ask that because maybe these are things that I can take back if and when it gets to that point here in Georgia where we can't do services in person. Like, what are some suggestions that you all have that would be meaningful? I want to learn and know. Wanda says, it's scary time. It's a scary time because no one wants to lose a loved one during this time. Yeah, that's true. No one ever wants to lose a loved one, but especially not now. And the sad part about all of it is that we have no control over life and death at any point. I mean, you can kind of take birth control not to get pregnant, and you can be as safe and cautious as you want to avoid dying, but you really have no control over it. None of us do. But yeah, you're right. This would be a pretty not awesome time to die. Not that there ever is one. Richard says, I am blessed, but on a very fixed income. So I went ahead and paid to Neptune Cremation $2,000. So, oh God. I did it again, you guys, but I don't think it messed up the picture. Can you guys still see me? Richard said, I paid Neptune Cremation $2,000 so it would not cost my surviving family or friends anything. That is the ultimate act of love, in my opinion, to not only have the foresight, but just the desire to not put that pressure on your family in such a sensitive and, difficult time. Okay. People, Richard, okay. Okay, great. You can see me. All right, you guys. So, trying to look through my notes and make sure I'm hitting on everything. This went a lot faster than I thought it would. What questions do you guys have? And also, let me tell you about a couple of resources that I said I was going to mention. So, if you are someone who is experiencing grief and you want to reach out to others who are going through the same thing, I know a lot of times when someone passes away, we seek out things like grief counseling and grief support groups. There's this app called, oh gosh, why can't I remember the name of the app? I did a video interview with them. I feel so horrible. I think it's the Good Grief app. I think that's what it's called. Does that ring a bell with anyone? Oh, God, I feel so horrible. I can't remember the name of the app. I think it's called the Good Grief app. And it's an amazing app that connects you with others who are experiencing similar losses. And I will confirm that and list that in the description, a link to their website in the description box below. I apologize, ladies, and if you see this video and I totally messed up your business name, I'm sorry. Wanda says, pre-taped remarks by friends or family members may be streamed for service. We really do have to get creative and open-minded with technology. Yes, we do. And I think that the technological aspect of funeral service is so amazing, and it's connecting me with you guys right now. And I absolutely love making YouTube videos and interacting with you all. But at the same time, the way that my mind works is that eventually, if this becomes the norm, psychologically, humans will lose all perception of reality as it pertains to death. We are already a culture and a society that is so thanophobic and afraid of death that I feel like the technological aspect, if it is used fully with no human interaction whatsoever at any point, it can be more destructive than positive, especially when it comes to an emotion such as grief. What do you guys think about that? Okay. I have never been to an African funeral. Like, do you mean in Africa? I have worked with African families and seen different traditional rituals performed, but I've never been to a funeral in Africa. Okay. Do you have to follow different protocols in your profession due to COVID-19? That is a yes and no question. Yes, because this is something we've never seen before. So everyone is being very, very, very extra cautious, being extremely aware of, PPE, which is personal protective equipment. And then it's creating a barrier between the directors and working with the families and the community. On the other hand, no, because we should be wearing PPE all the time. But there are some ladies who have made some amazing videos about how funeral service professionals are responding to COVID-19. One video can be found on the Modern Mortician's YouTube channel. And another video, or a couple videos, were done by Monica Torres, who is known on YouTube as Cold Hands Host. So check out their YouTube channels and check out their videos. They have some great information, and they speak a lot more eloquently about those topics in particular than I ever could. So I'm going to refer you there. And while we're talking about the Modern Mortician, check out this shirt she gifted me. And if you like it, you can order it on her website. Just Google the Modern Mortician and she'll pop up. All right, let's read some more comments. Okay. If the fear is in congregating in closed spaces, I would suggest an outdoor burial or maybe some type of partition between the grievers. That's an idea. I think the issue that would arise with that is that we really don't know how this thing is transferred. We don't know whether it's from droplet spray in the air, whether it's from physical contact, whether it's from just breathing regular air. And I think that is the issue, but that's an idea. Okay. Okay, Richard says, I know on YouTube it helps me with grief to listen to gospel music or mass church services. Okay, so that leads my mind to ask, What are you guys doing to keep yourselves uplifted, and what forms of self-care and positive reinforcement are you giving to yourselves at this time? Okay. Yes, Dijon, the pre-taped is a great idea. I forgot who said that, but that's a great idea, and I'm definitely gonna suggest that we do that. Latoya says, oh, thank you, Richard. He said, listening to you helps me. Thank you. That's why I make those videos. I want to help people, because I don't want to say I love death and grief, because that sounds so weird, but I've always been infatuated and fascinated by death and grief. And the reason I started this channel, and the reason I make these videos, and the reason I'm having this conversation right now, is because I want to help people get through this. And that just means a lot to me. Thank you for saying that. Okay, Latoya says, African tribal funerals are beautiful. I'm Yoruba and I am half Mexican. I am not afraid of death. I hear that, girl. I wish I could say I wasn't afraid. I think I have more curiosity than fear, but I definitely can't say I'm not afraid. So my hats off to you, my love. Okay. You guys are sending these things so fast. I have only been to LDS funerals here in Utah. Country Cowgirl, I would love to talk to you and maybe even interview you about what a LDS funeral consists of. Now, is LDS Mormon? Are those one and the same, or are they separate? Wanda Peterson says, I agree. Human aspect is very necessary in the acceptance of death. Okay, you guys, I have a video on my YouTube channel entitled Death and Technology, How Far is Too Far? Check out that video and leave your comments. It's based on a episode of Black Mirror, and I don't know if you guys watch that show, but there's this episode where this lady's fiance or husband passes away, and she's so grief-stricken, and one thing leads to another, but she ends up with this, I don't even know what to call it, a clone or a decoy of him. But after a while, she starts to have these issues. I don't want to give the episode away, but if you like stuff like that, check that episode of Black Mirror out. I list the episode number in that video. It's called Death and Technology. It's one of the videos from my Death at the Movie series, which don't get a lot of views, but check it out. Okay. Richard says, this isolation is challenging because I live alone at 55. I am a gay Christian man. Okay. I read this article, I think 2 weeks ago, that was talking about how, excuse me, my nose is running. Ooh, excuse me, sorry to pick in my nose on in front of you guys, but allergies. So I read this article that was saying that the average senior citizen who lives alone has less than 5 minutes of physical contact with another human being in a week. And that absolutely broke my heart. And now thinking about this coronavirus and the fact that they're really taking precautions to to quarantine and isolate the elderly because they're the most susceptible, it makes me wonder what it's doing to them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and as a result, physically. A lot of times we carry and exhibit what are called psychosomatic symptoms, especially when we're grieving. And what that means is that, okay, psychologically, you're experiencing some type of trauma or a change, right? And somatically, meaning in your body, that you may not cry or you may not be depressed or exhibit I don't want to say normal, but exhibit grief as it is presented regularly, I guess. But you may begin to get a backache. A lot of times when people are grieving, they get these horrible colds or these migraines or intestinal issues where they're having issues with their stomachs and their bowels. And a lot of times as people age, they start to lose memories. And it's like, what effect is this having psychologically? Oh my gosh, I got a super chat. Danielle. Okay. Danielle is one of my nearest and dearest friends. Thank you so much, Danielle. I've known Danielle since I was, I don't know, 7 years old. So thank you, Danielle. I love you right back. Thank you. That's like my first super chat, man. Thank you. Okay. But yeah, it just really made me think that. So Richard, what are you doing? Like, do you have family and friends that you can at least call and speak to? Or do you live in a senior community? How are you coping? All right. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get back. I want to read all of these comments, you guys. Richard says, I love your shirt. I think the candles are great. No, you haven't talked too much. You make me feel like I'm not talking to myself. Wanda Peterson says you are a natural teacher. You make a sensitive topic relatable and acceptable. Thank you, Wanda. Country Cowgirl, I'd love to talk to you. Yes, they are the same. Okay, so I am obsessed with polygamy. And I know not all Mormons and LDS are practicing polygamists, but I am very interested to learn and possibly interview a polygamous family. And I'd like to know the ins and outs of what happens in a polygamous unit when a death occurs in their family. So, Wanda, if you could please, if you feel comfortable leaving your email address in the comment section, I will email you tonight and we'll set something up, even if it's only a phone call. I don't know if you're comfortable with being on camera, but I'd love to just pick your brain, even if you don't want to do a public interview. And possibly come out there and meet you. I don't know. Dejan says, right now, Beyonce, your videos, the Clark sisters, nostalgic videos keep me calm. Okay, so you're using music. And I love that you brought up music, because music is such a high frequency and high vibration spiritual tool, especially when words of affirmation and love and positivity are being streamed through your environment. So I know we're all maybe stuck in the house. Put on some music. Open your windows and put on some music. I did a live earlier today where I talked about the spiritual tools that I use for grief and fears about death. And check that video out, but I failed to mention music in that video. Okay, let's see what else you guys are talking about. Richard says, honey, a pharmacist friend I know that works for the government told me to drink warm beverages with turmeric, black pepper, lemon, apple cider virgin vinegar. Okay, so yeah, that's, I don't know about that blend specifically, but your diet is another tool that you can use to keep yourself upbeat. I've been going on these walks in the morning, you guys. Like, I live a very sedentary lifestyle, so I have to force myself to get up and get moving, because a lot of times I'm working on the computer. If I'm making videos, I'm sitting down. If I'm at my part-time job, I'm sitting down. And a lot of times if I'm at the funeral home, if I'm not moving around, I'm sitting down. And it's not a very high volume funeral home, thank God, right now. But I'm not as physically active as I should be. But I have been going on these walks and challenging myself to get at least 5,000 steps per day. And when I tell you, these walks have changed my life. My blood pressure has come down. I feel a lot more calm and relaxed. And this morning it was raining when I went, but most of the time it's sunny, and just sitting outside and soaking up that sun, oh my gosh, it feels like a battery is being charged. Let's get back to these comments. Okay. Wanda says, I believe we are all experiencing a level of trauma during this period of isolation because it was sudden, unexpected, and scary. We have a lot of physical and emotional healing to do. Okay, so let's talk about the healing aspect. You guys are so awesome. I feel like I could talk to y'all all night. But the healing aspect, depending on what you believe And I think Danielle and I had this conversation earlier this week. So I'd love for her to chime in. But there's some, myself included, who I saw a meme that summed it up perfectly. It's like the planet Earth has just sent us all to our rooms because we need a timeout and we just need to regroup and come back again later. I feel as if that's true. And I feel as if, how can I say this without sounding crazy? I feel as if this, though this is an trauma, like an impact all of a sudden, the reverberation and the vibration that's going to come in the form of us being with our families, us being less stressed because you're in your own environment, you're in your own zhuzh and your own energy, is going to give us the time to settle down. One thing that I have learned through meditation and through the spiritual journey that I've been on is that silence is golden. And I know those of you who have kids and those of you who are trying to, you know, just keep your minds busy so you don't go crazy sitting in the house, I totally get it. But I would encourage each and every person here to practice 5 minutes of silence a day. I mean, turn off everything. I've gotten to the point where I would turn off the breaker box so that there's no hum from the electronics in my house. Silence is golden. And I feel like this is a time where we can take advantage of stillness. And we resist that a lot of times because we feel as if we have to be so busy. Now, I'm getting off my soapbox on that one. Okay, thank you, Country Cowgirl. As soon as I get off of here, I will send you an email. Thank you. All right, Richard says, honey, I have a sister in Tennessee. I live in a 55 plus RV park. I live in a 32-foot fifth wheel and drive 2015 Kia Soul. I love God and Snoopy, and I try to ride my adult tricycle bike a day. Okay, that's so cool. So you're like a hippie. That's what I'm assuming. That sounds so cool though. Wanda says, walking is an amazing self-care tactic. Nature in general. Yes, nature. So there's this waterfall near where I live. And I went out there the other day and I was with a friend of mine who was in the hospital for, 3 weeks in ICU. And literally would be out of breath walking from here to my door, which is less than 10 steps. And during our walk, I stopped her and I said, do you realize that 6 months ago, you would not have been able to do this? So just being in nature with her in that moment and having that revelation, it was just amazing. And nature is a teacher. It always has something to share with us. Janetta Shire says, hello everyone, I'm back. Welcome back. I'm sorry I lost you. I was so nervous I dropped the phone. Richard Howard says, I wonder if this is a plague like that was in the Old Testament. Okay, a lot of stuff that is going on right now does seem very biblical. If you guys aren't aware, I would suggest that you research the lotus. Is it the lotus? That are locusts that are ravaging through the continent of Africa right now. There's also a huge issue with bats in Australia, in addition to everything that's going on with the coronavirus. There's also this YouTuber named Lovely T. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her. I absolutely love her because she operates with integrity in her reporting and conveying of information. She does a lot of research and she's beautiful and intelligent on top of it. But I would strongly suggest watching some of her content to kind of keep you up to date on what's happening with this coronavirus and other things that are going on in the world. Okay. Wanda says, yes, silence, I agree. Richard says, this healing time gives us time to be more spiritual. Yeah, and I think people have this misconception about spirituality. They think that spirituality has to be sitting in a corner and I'm so perfect and all that. And I just don't see it that way with spirituality or religion. I think religion is relationship with God, and whether that relationship is based in the practices of Christianity, Taoism, Judaism, Muslim, or Islam, or whatever, it's about the connection and the relationship, and it's such a personal thing. But with spirituality, I think it's a level of inner knowing and inner wisdom, which is why I shared that prayer when we first started called the inner knowing or the inner knowledge. I see we got a few new people. All right. Country Cowgirl says, and earthquakes, we have had so many this week. Yeah, that's so weird. Do you guys normally get earthquakes in Utah? Yes. You told me how to say this. Oh my God. I remember the comment where you broke it down. So I apologize if I butcher it. But Gesh McKee says, hi, I've been a subscriber of yours for quite a while. I saw that you were doing a live stream and I wanted to stop by and tell you how much I appreciate your videos. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I appreciate your comment. Richard says, I pray being gay that God will allow. Okay. I understand what the world and religion a lot of times says about being gay. I have someone in my life that is very close to me that is gay. And they happen to be one of the best, most authentic, honest, and pure individuals that I know. I'm not God, Richard, but at the end of the day, I believe God made you exactly who you're supposed to be. And I can't tell you what to believe and what not to believe, but as far as I'm concerned, if my opinion matters for anything, God loves you as you are. And to question that love, to me, does more damage than to question who it is that he made you. So I love you as you are, and I don't even know you, you know, and I'm not God, you know. We are all expressions of God, regardless of what man label or, you know, condemnation man puts on us. I honestly believe that. Wanda says, wow, I haven't heard of those plagues in other countries. Yeah, do some research. I'm not being funny when I say that, but there's a lot going on. I got another super chat for $5. Richard said, you're so smart. Thank you. Geshmak is how you say it. Thank you. Country Cowgirl says, I'm 60 years old, and in this last week since I've lost my job, I've learned stuff about me I didn't know. Wow. So the time just not having to stress about going to work has already opened you up to the inner knowings of yourself, right? That prayer was right on time. I was worried that it wasn't going to be fitting, but it seems like it was right on time. God always does awesome stuff. Thank you, God. Let's see. I know you broke it down for me in the comments section. Gesh me. Country Girl says, the Lord looks at our good deeds and what's in your heart. Yes, I love that. And I'm glad that you guys are giving love and support to one another in the comment section. That was the whole intention behind this live stream. I just wanted us to have a place where we could all just talk and for a minute get our minds not necessarily off of everything, but off of the negativity behind it. And just be positive. Geshmik says, here's a little something. Keep up the great work. Thank you. I appreciate that. Richard said, if I lived closer, I would volunteer playing the keyboard at funerals for you. You can do that where you live in Florida. I'm sure they would so appreciate that. Let me tell you something, guys. You may not know this, but funeral homes love and need volunteers. We need people to hand out tissue. We appreciate that. Mr. Couponer says, hello, I'm a new subby. Hey, welcome. Wanda Peterson, what a lovely answer. House you gave Richard. God is love and he loves you, Richard. Yes, thank you. Oh, I know. I read it, but it kind of registered. Okay, what a lovely answer you gave, Richard. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I was afraid I was still messing it up, but thank you. Okay, Richard, you do volunteer. So, guys, I can't believe we've been on here for almost 45 minutes already. Is there anything else you all would like to talk about? Any questions you have? If I don't know the answer, I can do research, and the next time we get together, you know, I can answer those questions if I don't know the answer. Let's see, I have some notes. I told you about the video. No, I told you about psychosomatic symptoms, but I didn't tell you that I have a video on my channel about it. So check it out. The thumbnail is an African-American gentleman, a beautiful gentleman, and he has dreadlocks, and he is a massage therapist, but he also does a lot of energy work and energy healing. And he talked to me about the way that our bodies carry grief. And even though you may not be experiencing a loss personally, we're experiencing a loss as a unit, and experiencing death as a unit in a way that we never have before. So check out that video and think about some of the things that he says in it, and maybe see if maybe aches and pains or, you know, flare-ups or something that you're having could be related to the fact that you're experiencing secondary or tertiary loss through association, if that makes sense. Richard says, I do volunteer. Okay. And he says, you are so down to earth. Thank you. I try to be. Country Cowgirl says, much love to everyone. Take care and be safe. I am grateful for this chat tonight. Thank you. I am grateful too. And I can't promise that this will be something that happens every night, but I do want to start using the live feature a little bit more because I like interacting with you all. I was very hesitant. I'm just going to be honest. I was very hesitant about starting the live because it's a level of exposure that I don't have when I'm able to edit videos, when I mess up words, or when I'm able to be detached when I decide to post. But I'm working on being more vulnerable and opening myself up more because you guys open up so much to me. And I just have really enjoyed this. I was really nervous about it, but I'm so glad that I did it. And I'm happy you guys are here because I'm not talking to myself. Richard said, you're the best mortician I know. Thank you. Wanda says, thank you for all the information. You're awesome. You're awesome too. Richard said, this has been fantastic. Gets my mind off the lack of things. Okay. That makes me happy. So maybe this is something we can plan to do on a weekly basis. I don't know. It really just depends on my schedule. But since we're going to be in the house for a while, it will be something that happens a little more regularly. I don't even know when, but I'll try to pop in when I can. Wanda says, you did a fantastic job. Going live is scary. It is. You're a natural. Thank you. You guys are so awesome. But if there are no more questions, and if you guys don't have any other requests, I'm going to go ahead and say good night to everyone. I pray that you all have a wonderful evening. If you are able to, just call someone, whether it's a family member or a friend, and tell them that you love them and let them know that they're not alone. Peace, love, and blessings to each and every one of you. Live life, love hard, and I will talk to you next time.